Bonjour à toutes et tous.
Good morning, all, and welcome to the second day of Borders Forum. Fatalism or resilience, the theme of our 2 days. And so I have the pleasure of opening the second day of Borders Forum. Thank you very much for being with us for the second day. There were many of you yesterday, and we're delighted to see you all today again. And we hope, of course, there are many of you listening online. And this second day is called Compasses to Reinvent. So we talked about solidarity, the development of citizenship in terms of cross-border areas. And we like to pursue today along these themes, but we're going to talk today about governance, the governation of the different players. We're going to talk about economic interdependence and the way that new models of governance can perhaps be reinvented. So we'll talk about ecological transition as well, and how the authorities, local authorities and the public-private partnerships can function in this particular area, together with the young citizens, of course, who have a word to say in the public and political space. And 2022, of course, is the European Year of Youth. And so we wish to highlight the significance of young people. I will now invite Madame Nathalie Sarrabezolles, who is President of the COTER Commission with the European Committee of the Regions. Welcome, Madame Sarrabezolles. And I think before you take the floor, we have a little jingle. Thank you and have a very good day. Good morning, everyone, ladies and gentlemen, dear participants, dear speakers. It is a great pleasure and an honor for me to be with you here today in Paris on the occasion of the second Borders Forum to talk about the future of cross-border alliances. I welcome all the participants in this event who have come here and also those who are joining us online today. I'm delighted to join you at this event here in a physical way, because after more than 2 years of the pandemic, it is, I believe, a pleasure and a necessity to be all physically in the same room. If we think about our central topic on cross-border alliances that are played out in particular in our border regions in Europe, well, we can see that it is very difficult to maintain those alliances. So meeting up in person is the best way to move our themes forward. I would like to briefly return to the health crisis and its impact on cross-border alliances. Indeed, with the pandemic and the subsequent border closures, the restrictions on personal contacts and financial but also social losses, we have had to face major challenges in order for our alliances to remain alive. And after a few difficult weeks, that was the case thanks to all the different actors, our elected representatives that did everything to stay in touch as much as possible by organizing virtual meetings, loops in social media in order to be able to carry on working. And this shows us this cross-border issue is a major one. The crisis has showed us that cooperation between the cross-border regions, and particularly between the people who live in these regions, are an important asset for Europe, its cohesion and its fundamental principles. And the crisis has always indicated to us that this asset was extremely fragile. So we need to rethink these alliances and cross-border cooperations in order to be able to face future crises. It is important to find new means and resources to reinforce and to reinvent more durably across the current cross-border alliances in Europe, so that they might well resist and survive not only in difficult times like today, but also in more peaceful times. And I'm delighted that this second day will give us an opportunity to debate different models of cross-border cooperation that should be sustainable. This second day gives us a wide area of areas where we can connect and cooperate, governance, youth and the economy. But as was said previously, those are themes that were already discussed yesterday. But today we will focus on particular on governance and the relations that are needed in order to be able to uh, bring to fruition these projects. The cross-border alliances, as we said earlier, represent a compass for European values. But none of these values or ideas has been so much the object of experiments as in our cross-border regions. They live this on a daily basis, whether it is the freedom to move across the border and live there. And of course, there are benefits and disadvantages too, or obstacles. Sometimes decisions taken by national governments means that this cooperation is more difficult, particularly from an administrative point of view, which brings some resources to their limits. We can mention the mutual recognition of diplomas, for example, mobility. They offer public services such as health on the other side of the border. By way of examples, the pandemic has also shown that governance models had reached their limits. And so the moment is ripe to think about more innovative models that make cooperation beyond borders more efficient and also simpler. Simplicity, of course, in the EU is a mantra, but we are going to try and add some ideas on this issue of simplicity. Another current challenge, the environment and sustainability, of course, that are also essential for border regions, for Europe and for the rest of the world. For several years, climate disasters have multiplied. We all remember the floods, the disastrous floods in the summer of 2021 that affected directly the border regions of Western Europe, Belgium, France, Luxembourg, Germany. The other climatic challenges and tragedies we have known show clearly that we have to accept our responsibilities, all of us, in this period of climatic change, particularly since this climatic risk will only get worse in the coming years. We need to be able to put in place coherent policies in order to slow down climate change in Europe. And for this, we need to unite beyond borders. It is all the more important, therefore, that the protection of the environment and sustainability be an integral part of cross-border alliances. And the fight against climate change, of course, as we know, doesn't stop at the internal or external borders of Europe. Together, we need to progress on the way towards environmental transition. Another significant topic, civil society and youth that are a specific pillar of cross-border alliances within Europe. These play a significant role in order to model the region, the border regions, whether it's decision policy making, the launching of projects or initiatives. It is indeed civil society and local young people who are confronted on a daily basis with the freedom of movement and cooperation across borders. And therefore, it is necessary to give them a say, much more than we do now, in a way that responds to their needs by simplifying procedures once again. Three young representatives will take the floor today to present their vision of the future of Europe and of these cross-border areas. I think that we must absolutely listen to this message in order to ensure that our union is a space for freedom, where everyone has opportunities, young people in particular, and that those opportunities should be strengthened. The European Committee of the Regions, as representatives of the local authorities in Europe, wishes to contribute to the promotion and the optimization of cross-border alliances. And this is the reason why resources and tools have been created these last few years and decades, in fact, in order to move these alliances forward. We can mention indeed the European groupings of territorial cooperation, the EGTCs, as legal instruments aiming to promote cross-border alliances, cooperation, and interregional cooperation. The EGTC platform, which combines all the political and technical representatives of the European EGTCs, is managed by the Committee of the Regions. And the objective of this platform is to facilitate the exchange of experiences on the ground to promote EGTCs as an instrument of territorial cohesion, to make the projects more visible, while sustaining the consultative work of the Committee of Regions on cross-border issues. In this context, the Cross-Border Alliance for Citizens, put in place amongst other partners by the Committee of the European Regions, can also be considered as an additional way to cooperate increasingly in cross-border areas. This initiative is aimed at improving the lives of European citizens in border regions in the European Union by actively associating citizens to the decision-making process and planning of cross-border cooperation. Also, with the Conference on the Future of Europe, which ended in time for the European Day on May of last year, we, as the Committee of the Regions, we have clearly expressed our position on the future of cross-border cooperation. In the resolution of 2021 on the future of cross-border cooperation in Europe, the Committee of the Regions committed, amongst other things, to strengthen the health system, the prevention of crises, a better integration of the border regions, mobility, and the cross-border economy, as well as reinforcing the cross-border identity. Within the framework of the Conference on the Future of Europe, several resolutions were adopted with the European Parliament, and they've adopted joint positions. Nevertheless, it is necessary to remind us that cross-border regions are important for Europe, since a large number of Europeans live in those areas, work in those areas, and are confronted with sometimes difficult obstacles. And so the future of these regions is not only important locally. The optimization of these borders has an added value for us all in Europe, even if we don't all live close to the borders. And I'm particularly concerned here because I come from Brittany. So this must be understood in the coming years in order to be able to respond to the challenges to come. And today, above all, I would like to say how delighted I am with this broad and varied program around cross-border alliances. I would like to thank in particular the MOT, the MOT, that organized this meeting. Thank you to all the moderators, all the speakers, without whom, of course, this event would not have been possible. Thank you for listening to me, and I wish you all a very fruitful meeting for this second day of the Borders Forum. Thank you.